It's the Bob Dodd Show. What a ride. Laughter and joy with Bob as your guide. Tune in now, don't miss the flow. Good times ahead on the Bob Dodd Show.
Welcome, everybody, back to the Bob Dodd Show. Today in studio, I have a very special guest. I met him working on Superman here in Georgia, and from the first time seeing him, he blew me away. I want to introduce the amazing John Russell.
Thank you. That's such a treat to hear you speaking that kind of content for me. Glad to be here. You have a great setup. I think a lot of you too, because we didn't get to work together but a short period of time, and I knew you had some pull when I first met you. I always want to know what people's history are when we get into business and I meet new people, because that way I can get a better understanding of what kind of support I can get or what kind of support I can give.
Yeah.
Because it has very little to do with always the business. It's more about how well can we protect each other, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well, because you're dealing with a family once you get in the film industry over a period of time. Everybody's a little different in their own way, and I like to think I can try to meet them wherever they are, so kudos to you as well. I'm impressed with all the stuff you're doing. I did get to see the one podcast you did with Sabina.
Yeah.
And I thought that was quite impressive. I'm always glad to see her, expand in any capacity. She's come a long way as a young lady, and she's dealing with a lot as well today. Pray for her mom all the time. But for the most part, Superman probably for us might have been one of our biggest last hurrahs, because even the one coming back I don't think will be as big. But it was probably one of the biggest shows that, brought a lot of different people together in the last couple of years. That's what we're up against now. There's a whole different element in the industry. And most of us haven't been able to fully engulf or understand or accept the changes and challenges. And as you know, it's constantly a conversation, especially when it comes from our local or even just say geographical continuing efforts, like with us versus California.
Yeah.
So
They just, I think, approved a large amount of money for film tax incentive to try to bring folks back. I wonder if that's going to pull some shows back.
yeah, and just for the record, maybe not even guaranteed or solid. It's all hearsay when we talk, and it's just But apparently, Texas ran out. They couldn't do it all, and some of the people were doing things for just to get them on the record or on the block, and the money ran out because their incentive wasn't as strong. So now I'm hearing things are coming back our way, and it is what it is. I tell everybody, you have to stay in the moment. It's not one of those things where you can't get excited with this. Anybody that got into business in the last 5 years, I always say, I think you're brave to get in this, because when you come from organized labor like I have since 1978, there's a different element in how it affects, or let's say how it operates. The film business for us Teamsters is completely different animal.
Yeah.
Now, if you got in like I did in 2010, you're pretty much, you can get work, But when you come in with the last grouping we had, most of those guys did not understand how we got where we are. They don't understand the real dynamics of what it takes to be able to be employed and how that infrastructure is really set up. And not understanding fully that it is a referral, And ultimately, a production company does have the right do what they want to do. And we have to remember they are very, very big. They have been conducting and controlling the narrative for the way we actually do a lot of things, eat, sleep, and think, and entertain for, probably close to 100 years more. So, we have to be honest that it is what it is. And being just a local 728, I don't think sometimes even our administrators there understand what we're really dealing with and who we're dealing with.
It is strange, like the culture of film. I mean, I've been in since 2007, and not as a Teamster, but just in the industry, and watching the culture evolve. And, there was a point where I think everybody came to the realization that a film or project is going to be here today and gone tomorrow, and your next project is definitely not secured, it's not promised. And then you have that, you basically get hired, not so much in the Teamster world, but you get hired from the cut of your cloth as far as like if you're able to keep up and if you're knowledgeable, grip, lighting, camera. So the culture, I feel like I don't want to say changed drastically, but it has had some changes. And when I saw those changes happening on the technician side, I was actually transitioning into the Teamster world. I was working on Ozark and then finally got the door to open in 2020. And man, I was so ecstatic to work. And I had a couple good years working as a Teamster. And then when the writer's strike happened, that culture that I saw slowly, changing, like for some reason, like nobody told all the newer people that this is a possibility. And like that culture is like, I guess what I'm trying to say, they're like, a lot of these people felt they were owed projects. And it's just like, no, man, these companies will come when they want to and leave when they want to. Have you noticed anything like that with the younger folks, or I shouldn't say younger, but the newer people, part of the members in the industry?
Well, you're spot on, and a sense of entitlement is unbelievable in this industry over the last few years. I feel sorry for people to a certain extent, but at the same time, being in organized labor, like I said, for as long as I have had, I understand what it means to have seniority. Now, coming from the craft that you were in before being a Teamster, that was different. You can get hired based on, Bobby Dodd's a hell of a worker, get him in here. Didn't matter where you were. You can be out playing pool or at the beach. If they needed you, boom, you're in. Our craft is in a 4-tier system, and pretty much the first 2 tiers are pretty much going to get work because it's based on seniority, and it's not even fully seniority. It's just really based on where you're at and who's available, and even that can be smudged, but nowhere like where you came from. And so a bunch of these people got in that era, and they were never around organized labor. They didn't understand that the tier system, but more importantly, they didn't understand that you're a day higher. That's the first thing I think everybody needs to understand, that you're a day higher when you get in the film industry, meaning doesn't matter how long that show's lasting. If they want to take that piece of equipment off and say tomorrow we don't need you, we'll let you know, you're deuces.
Yep.
It can be like that. I'll just say for me, I came from a rank and file organization where you could go look at a bulletin board and literally know by your number what your qualification was, where you were going to be able to work, and what job you could get. When I was at Roadway and Yellow, I was pretty much the number one qualified driver, and I took an unassigned job, and I was the number one unassigned qualified driver probably for 5, 6, 7 years, which meant I picked my own hours daily, not weekly, but daily. I could call up in any hour and say, I'm coming in, boom. That's seniority. That's rank and file. Film, it's a little different. It's got a referral system. And so when I decided to leave there and come into the film industry, I had to look at the fact that I was walking away from a pivotal position, but I knew my companies had made serious changes with the globalist movement, with these big investors coming in, taking companies and just squashing them, taking all the money out. One of the things happening now, I think, with MBS, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew my company was going down because I've been there since '86, and this is like 2009 now.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying, get back to the point, I would have never got in the industry like some of these guys did, like even when you did. Well, maybe you're different because you're dual.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably more than dual. You're quintessential. You've got multifacets opportunities because you can do different things, and you were doing them before you even got into to Teamster. So we have to be willing to recognize and respect where we are and what our qualifications are. Your case was completely different. That's why I say it's good to know people, because everything's different. But a lot of those guys came in, never had an idea what organized labor was. They never really understood. They didn't get a formal initiation into this. And so they got in, and then when and nobody, we're ruthless for people getting in. Nobody tell you anything.
Mm-hmm.
Just, hey, you're driving that. That's it. And I mean, I can tell you the conversations I've had with some of those people in the last year. I remember last year I had it's been earlier this year. I had like 6 of them on a conference call one day. Wow. And I was like, and my questions to all of them was, how did you find out about this? Well, my friend told me. And what were you doing before you got in this? And, why did you get in? Did you understand that you may not be working after this one show that you came in on? And most of those guys were clueless to what they were involved with. And so, and thus, is why we're where we're at. That me and you talked about earlier, when you have a election that just happened and you have a small percentage of the people voting, but you have a massive amount of people that are in the organization, there's a serious disconnect.
Yeah, I find that there's some kind of weird gap, like between the people that have things to say about it and the people who do vote. It's always troubling to me because it's like, well, if you feel that way, did you vote? Did you even tell your officials like you feel this way? And it's just like, why even bother? Well, it's like you have to bother because they won't know about it if you don't say anything.
Well, that's a lot of that is by design, and we can get into that even more. So, I'll take you down that rabbit hole. We are being programmed so well right now. It's to the point where we're fed on our algorithms what we think is best by what we see on our phones every day and how it's fed to us constantly. And so people don't understand the struggle. They don't understand how this country got where it is a lot of times. We got a bunch of people that are just happy to have what they want. They've had a sense of entitlement. And we've been through a process in the last, say, 7, 8, 10 years. Chris Hedges said it best. He says, he talked about, and you probably don't know him, but he's a very interesting guy. I listened to him about right before and during COVID, I think. He made a speech, and he was talking about how Michigan took a hit. Before that, I think it was a country in Eastern Europe or whatever, might have been associated with Russia. I can't remember the name of this country, but they depleted that country immensely. And it's the same thing they've done with Michigan and some of the states. There's places now, Jersey has places like that these cities they're just done. They're not what they used to be. They're not thriving anymore. And we're fed all the social ideas of things like BLM, LGBTQ. And Chris Hedges, I'll never forget, he said that, and he said this about 6 years ago or less, I'm sure. He said, in the future, after he described all these changes, he says BLM, LGBTQ won't matter. because we're going to be in a situation where other things will be more important. Thus, we're in a situation now where, you know, there is a strong movement to develop the AI industry, but the data centers are going up everywhere, and there's a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wonder if many people even realize, or do they ask themselves, why are they why is there so many data centers being built? And it's sucking water from the communities. It's just, and it's all because there's an agenda that most of us will never delve into. I think, in my opinion, now I'm going down that rabbit hole I told you about. Yeah. You know, the research is there. It just that nobody wants to really look at it, because even now there's more information about the things that are really affecting us as people as a whole in the world, not just here or there, but it's everywhere. And there's somebody tweaking the whole thing, you know, and so, you know, when you ask me about the politics a little bit and the religion, I'm going to take you right there. I'm not afraid to talk about what I think. People will say he's a space cadet by the time it's over, and that's okay.
That's all right, man. We're on this spaceship called Earth right now, dude.
Well, you know, and this is a lot of Johnism, because I've realized since the late 70s, early 80s, that, you know, most of what, I'll say this, those that know don't tell, and those that tell really don't know.
Okay.
Okay? And our leaders, for the most part, are opportunists. I mean, if you look at California, those cats have been running that state for 80 years. And there's a lot of ill stuff going on out there. And beautiful place, beautiful people out there. But, you know, the drug situation we have in our country is stupid, ridiculous. And in my opinion, those that really pay attention know that the deep state CIA has been behind the drug movement forever. Yeah. So we can paint a picture about how we're trying to stop it and all that. I think it's all manipulation, and it's designed to keep us in the dark, you know, like mushrooms, and feed us crap. We never figure it out, because we're always chasing the wrong information. And so over time, you know, we've seen changes in all arenas, you know, our industry, labor, social, and now it's so much different than it ever has been. When I was a kid, the only thing we cared about, can we play kickball, street hockey, football, you know, go swimming. I remember we'd walk 5 miles to go swimming. And I look back and I'm like, God, we walked so far just to go swimming and come back and be, you know, the things that now you can't get hardly any kids to want to do anything other than play on their phones. And of course I noticed your kids didn't have phones. And so that was, to me, that's very smart to get them where they're not like that. But I had to going out on a tangent. But the reality is let me make sure I get this right. We're the working people, okay? I had to correct my business. My president about 4 months ago, he was like, you know, we the middle class. And I'm like, no. I had to tell him, I says, we need to stop saying we're middle class. The middle class is your entertainers, the $600,000 a year. Those are middle. We're working people. Yeah. Okay, we're not in the middle class. Middle class went out in the 70s, in my opinion. We've been struggling ever since the big gulp. Okay, we've lost our way, and most of our people are consumed with all the wrong stuff. And so it takes me back to why we are where we are with all the technology that we have. We're being programmed immensely. Some entity that is now being more brought to the table, the UFO issue, that is being more brought to the table now, because if you do the research, or if you go down that rabbit hole, you'll find out that it's being said that is that's a lot that is not being answered. Skinwalker Ranch, you know.
How much of that is entertainment versus reality?
Well, I think a lot more of it is reality than entertainment. I think it's a stark raving disgrace that over many, many years there has been all types of phenomenon taking place, but we've swept it under the rug as a world. You can look up Charles Fort, one of his books. He talks about all kinds of special things that's happened over the years. One of the most powerful books, writings. But, you know, just so you know, I'm a David Icke follower. Okay. I spent a whole day in a hotel with him at a seminar in North Carolina over 20 years ago. I believe that the secrets are so well kept that none of us will ever follow. You know, I've done studies with John Henry Clark, Shekinah Job, John G. Jackson. These are African American or African anthropologists. So, you know, there's been a cataclysm taking place here probably more than one time. And there was technology, in my opinion, that was here that was probably beyond what we have now. We're almost like we're trying to catch up, I think.
Yeah. Are you familiar with, the last cataclysmic event with like malt, was that malt, water, ice, bee? I forget what it is, like 11,600 years ago. It's the one that ended the megafauna and all that.
No, I don't. Those terms I don't, but I'm sure I've probably read or heard something about it. I'm utterly amazed with as at Antarctica and how we have a no-fly and how there's people that were high up the chain that had clearance to be there, and it's been up there and seen everything, and how now there's so much being told now that was always kept hush-hush. And I think people really should be more interested in that. You know, let's just say entertainment versus, as you said, reality. Dolores Cannon, are you familiar with her? She's a channeler, okay? I fell into Dolores Cannon about 3 years ago. I've read three of her books. God knows I need to go back and probably, I have to I constantly go back and forth to her stuff because she is a bona fide channeler. She has taken people, thousands of people, I think, from just meeting them, opening them up, going down the rabbit hole, finding out that they were in other entities. They've been in touch with other entities. You know, channeling gives you the ability to find out who you might know or who somebody else wants to speak through you. I'll have to give you the name of one of the books, but there was a book about a native who was on the Trail of Tears. I'll have to look that up and give it to you. But this book really took, you know, these are the kind of books that made me really get real with the fact that, you know, we're in an illusion. Time is not even real. We're the only ones tricked on time. The Swiss have made $1 billion on it, and we believe in time. We're such suckers, you know. The only time is now. You know, 30 years from now, we'll all realize what idiots we are driving cars, going everywhere, because this movement that we're going to, and I'll go back, is designed to take us virtual, ultimately.
Yeah. The singularity.
That's right. They're doing all they can. That's why so many companies are closing. That's why so much is, because they already know you're not going to need to go anywhere. They don't care if you do the work anymore. Klaus Schwab says in the future, you know I'm going there now, right? Klaus Schwab says in the future, he says, you won't own anything and you'll be happier.
Yeah.
And your buddy, his sidekick, Bill Gates, you know what he says, right?
I'll buy all that land.
That's right. Well, exactly. Bill says there's 2 ways to control the population. You got balls to even come out with that comment, right?
Yeah.
He says vaccinations and food. And what's he do? He don't want you to eat meat no more.
It's crazy that he is the largest landowner
Yeah.
in America.
And so when we look back, what we went through for the Constitution to get us where we are,
Yeah.
that was balls.
Yeah, sovereign citizens are not a thing anymore.
No.
So it's like as soon as you actually accept that Social Security card and that driver's license, actually even if you are a sovereign citizen, you're still subjected to the rules that people that have the ability to apply force. So I mean, there's no sovereign.
You're out. You're down. Listen. You're connected now. Once you're connected, this is the strongest thing we have left. Is these damn lips moving right here, and they've done all they can to even take that away from. They'll be knocking at my door probably when it's over, But I'm ready to roll anyway. So, but that's the real deal here. Is we're all sheep now,
Yeah.
and nobody's being willing to step up and do what the Constitution cats did. They fought for what they believed in, and they were willing to die for it. People now are just comfortable being, they rather choose comfort over character building every time.
That's the thing. When we get so comfortable that the smallest things become our problems, and we don't realize we don't have any problems. That's the issue. I mean, I see that with my children. If my child has an issue or a problem, whether if it's my Lego is missing and that's like the end of the world for him, it's like, I'm glad he has that problem. I'm glad that he's whatever. But depending on how much effort and weight or worth you put into that issue with the child, then they learn that was actually worth the temper tantrum or the cry or all that hurt feeling. But you have to allow that child to know, it's just a Lego. I guarantee if we clean this room, we'll find it. And it's no longer a problem. What the bigger problem is? What are you gonna have for dinner? That's a bigger problem than finding that Lego. And guess what, bud? There's bigger problems than that. There's real problems too. So that's why I try to look at everybody and give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, whatever your problem is, I get it, it's your problem. I'm here to help you. But at the same time, it's like, we'll get over it. And the real problems like losing a life or someone giving up on themselves, or those are real problems. And everything else is, I don't want to say trivial, but we can get through a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I deal with a lot of people pulling their lives together, and one of the things that I constantly, and I learned from some of the best, but one of the things I constantly push to people is that, let's keep it simple, stupid, okay? We take so much for granted. These damn lights in here and all this, you just push the button and shit works. It's like, I tell people all the time, I wake up in the morning, right? And when I get out of bed, half time I don't have a lot of clothes on. I might not even have any shorts on, but I'm like, God, there's no roaches running around on the floor. And that heating pad is still working. And then I go in another room and I hit the switch and the light comes on. And then I turn the water on, it's hot. And I'm like, dude, when people call me and they'll be all wound out and everything, I say, let's start with a gratitude list every day. Okay? Don't wait till you get in the car and you've blown a tantrum. Let's start with the simple things. You got food in your let's not even get to the kitchen yet. Let's just say you woke up and there was no bombs. People would see me at work and they'd say, how you doing? I'd say 100%. 100%? And I say, yeah, I just got to figure out where it's at. I wish I was like, yeah, but, and then they'll say, well, how you doing? I said, I'm doing great. I didn't wake up with no bombs going off over the top. There was no shrapnel coming around here. There's, the doors weren't blown out. There's no hole in the roof. I didn't have to sleep in a tent. There's people doing that for a cause that they believe in that may not even be the real cause.
Yeah.
And now what was your problem?
That's one of the things that I think draw me to your personality. I mean, when people talk about, oh, this person has an aura, and you see the aura. It's like, I do. I see it. And after meeting you, I came up with this term that I tell people, especially if like as I'm speaking to people and things are just like maybe not going so well for them, or they maybe got looked over. And this is literally after I met you. I mean, we didn't have a conversation about it or anything, but it's just like you opened my eyes, and I started sitting there thinking to myself, like, I see it. And this was after, just talking to you. It's like, oh man, he says some wild stuff, but I mean, like if you open your eyes, you could see it. And so I started telling people like, man, I see you.
Really?
I see you. And that was after meeting you. I started saying that because it's just like, it makes sense to tell people, I see you.
Mm-hmm.
And we have all sorts of walks of life. We have all different types of personalities. I mean, it's so easy to get caught up in something that is trivial, that doesn't matter. But if you sit there and you look at somebody in their eyes and say, I see you, dude. Like you have something.
Right.
It unlocks something. It might not open the door to whatever, but it unlocks something, and it gets people thinking like, what the heck is this guy talking about? And you say it a couple more times in conversations with people. It's like, look, man, I know what you're going through. It's not affecting me at all, but I see it's affecting you. Like if it's I don't know, not having a place to stay close to where you're working, not having food, having a problem with a wife, or gosh, if you're dealing with any kind of any kind of thing where you're addicted to. I mean, I don't care if it's chocolate or if it's as hard as like drugs or whatever.
Right.
It's like, man, I see you. I want you to see you too. And I want you to know that someone sees you. And sometimes that unlocks the door for them to open up to you, and you get to know them, and then somehow they have some alleviation. But I started saying that after I met you.
I gotta breathe on that one. Now it's deep to take that in. Thank you. It's a
Yeah.
compliment.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think about things. I'm not married to my ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they change so much, and facts can change depending on who you talk to anymore. And it's like so strange to sit there and think that that's even possible. But if somebody's so steadfast on thinking like this is the fact, and you're like, I'm not sure. Like, number one, I'm not an authority on anything, but I am a human being. I could tell you I care about you and what you're going through, or I care about what you care about. We might not see things eye to eye, but like, let's have this conversation, and I'll recognize that I see you and you are real to me, and I'm here with you. So let that be.
Yeah,
I
do. We take away the human experience trying to, it's hard to satisfy the spirit with material gain and external entities. And in this society, it's so easy to omit how and what really makes me feel better.
Mm.
In recovery realms, we talk about every natural instinct crying out against the idea of personal powerlessness.
Mm.
And those instincts, when I ask people, do you know what instincts mean? And they'll give me all this.
What is that? What do they say?
Instincts are in what we call in recovery. And I say, these are the three things that make a person happy or sad every time. They're the three S's: sex, security, and society. And sex is relationships, not necessarily getting it in. It's relationships. Security is our financing, and society is our social acceptability. Anytime you get somebody that's happy or sad, it's because one of those three things. Their money's great. People think they're this or that. But it's really about having a spirit that does not let you get controlled by all those things. And those things, for me, in my opinion, one of the things that's helped me evolve where I am is learning to go from fear to love. And fear is manifested in so many ways. Scott Peck, you ever heard of him?
I have.
Further Along the Road Less Travel. I've got his books on tapes, cassette tapes. I haven't listened to them in 10 years, but I still remember. In the books I read, a lot of times I don't remember but one quote.
Mm-hmm.
And Scott Peck says that love is giving of oneself for the enhancement and development of another.
Mm-hmm.
Basically has nothing to do with what I'm going to get.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm either, and then my guy, Sermon on the Mount, Emmett Fox, you ever heard of him? He's strong, religious Christian. He wrote, I'll never forget 30 plus years ago, my sponsor gave me a set of books, and I gave them to somebody myself. But one was like a daily book that you could read each day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget in that book, it said, there's basically only two feelings. It's either love or fear. They can't exist at the same time. You're either in one or the other.
Yeah.
And I remember that because I try to move my life in that guidance. But what I've realized is when we really start going into the realm of love, we're talking about being in a service mindset. As I said earlier, recovery is about getting into self, into God, into others. The ones that get the most recognition through time, Jesus, Buddha, Gandhi, Allah, or let's just say, what was his name? John Smith. He wasn't it John Smith? He was
Your Mormons?
yeah. And then Muhammad. All of them pretty much were recognized because of the amount of people they touched in whatever way or belief. We don't have to go down that, but that's the difference in the world, in my opinion. And what happens is, I think, when we're in the realm of once I'll just say for me, once I got in that realm of understanding that I was put here to serve and not be served,
Mm-hmm.
I realized that, and once I understood and I start learning to pray for God's will, not mine.
Yeah.
As they say, thy will, not mine, be done. Now I'm going religious. Now I can go the other way and be non-religious if you want, but I'll tell you, just based on what I've been taught, you know, you can believe or not believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I do believe this karma. How about that?
Yeah.
But the reality is, in recovery, they teach you, you know, as it says, everybody has a deep understanding of a God, every man, woman, and child, you know, whether they believe it or not, everyone pretty much does. But once I took that turn in my recovery process and realized that I was under the auspices of a power way greater than myself, I realized things were being brought to me that I didn't have control over. And they were usually things that I didn't really want to do, you know, but I knew it was to do not for me.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the greatest things in life is to know at a point in your life that they'll ultimately become choices for me that I'll have to make that will take me wherever I got to go, painful or not, that will serve a greater cause than what I've ever dreamed of, you know, because being a young kid in the simple things we want to do or whatever, and then graduating to where I am today, just being able to have you call me and say, and then can't talk about, hey, you got to go get on Bob's show. And then I'm like, I know, sure, yeah. When you going to come down here and get on the show, you know?
Kent was like, you gotta ask him on. I was like, dude, I did. I didn't really hear anything back. He didn't sound too enthused about coming on or even interested. And he was like, I'll talk to him.
Yeah, and it wasn't that at all, Bob. It's just, I tell people, sometimes people call me and say, how you doing? I say, I'm tied to the whipping post, you know, or I can't keep up. I mean, I have those days.
Well, you are a fellow that, I mean, you have a lot of tools in your toolbox of life, and I see you're always helping people. And I'm always hearing like, about how when someone's helping somebody, they're either taking time out of their life to help somebody else. Where am I going with this? I basically want to say, like, I know you help people all the time, and sometimes you put other people in front of you. And, you know, that's kind of what happens with folks like you, you know? So when I wasn't hearing back from you, I didn't have any negative thoughts or anything. I was just like, oh, he's busy. He's doing some stuff. And on top of that, he has to work, you know? So I kind of knew, like, maybe what possibly you were up to, because you are very helpful. There's people out there that talk about how you helped them. And I've heard from Ken, you know, like, you know, what you do. And it just even adds more to, you know, this like picture I have of you. And not that like, this is why I wanted you on, you know, you are special, man. Well, you have this calming, like when I'm around you, I just want to chill, hang out, talk, hear what you have to say, and definitely think about things the way you view them, because you don't get that from other people. I don't know anybody else that has a thinking pathway that you do.
You know what's funny about that, Dodd, is Bob Schrock, 1979, 80, late 70s, early 80s. I was working for a company called Cubicore now, or it might have been, but back then it was Arcata Graphics. I printed Time, People, Reader's Digest, National Enquirer, Harlequin Romance, Easy Rider. And that was my first real paying job, organized labor job. I was in the printers union. And let me tell you, I learned two things there for sure. I learned how to party.
Yeah.
And I learned how to be a printer. And I was actually an assistant journeyman. And I was working on National Enquirer. I'll never forget, I went in a trailer and I was talking to a guy that loaded the trailers, because I was a fly boy on that gig then. And a guy named Bob Schrock was in there, and I was talking to him. And he says, yeah. And I don't know, somehow we hit this politic thing, right? And Bob Schrock says, yeah, well, you know, those guys really don't control anything. I'm like, what do you mean? He says, you know who really controls everything, right? And I'm like, no. He says, Trilateral Commission, Council on Foreign Relations. I'm like, what? Now, mind you, I'm reading the National Enquirer on a regular basis, you know, because I print it. So I'm already buying all the vitamins out of there, selling them, you know. I'm selling other stuff too, but it wasn't in their damn book. Yeah. And he says, yeah, man. He says, if you want to know who's running the world, that's who's doing it. He says, they're a part of every entity that you're involved with, every maybe corporation. Those are the people running everything. And that's when the light came on. You know, I can't remember where I'm going with all that, but that's when it all started for me to do the research. And those cats really do run the world. That's why I laugh at people when they come up to me and say, you know what Trump's doing? Well, I got a brother Mike calls me every week. You know what? You see what Trump? I said, dude, don't call me about Trump. I said, you didn't call me when Biden couldn't put two sentences together. Don't call me about Trump. I said, I really don't care what Trump does. Biden, I said, they're all crooks. I said, they're all about the money. They're just doing what they can to get by. You do the same thing if you were in this situation, especially because he doesn't have any control either. He's just following orders.
Yeah.
And anyway,
the thing that gets me is people, you know, they like, I don't know, like I see that both administrations have done good things and bad things. That's the way I see it. Like, okay, I'm sure I can find some good things they did. I can find some bad things they did, both administrations. Like, if you start getting into a who did worse or who did better war, it's like you're going to end up, it's probably going to be the same, you know?
Well, you know, ultimately is what I say is, you know, unfortunately, I'm in a capitalist environment. Let's keep this 100 here, okay? Me and you, we ain't got no money. We're done data, okay? We can't go out there. We're not bartering anymore. You know, you got a log of wood or those days are over, okay? Nobody said anything for the last 50 years. We've run a deficit, took us off the gold system. Nobody raised hell then. Obama gave billions away, okay? George and them guys came in there, they fooled the hell out of us with 9/11. They'll come looking for me, that's fine. But that's the real deal.
Yeah.
That was all a hoax. They're mad at Trump for not going to Cheney's funeral. These guys were crooks. They're all crooks in my opinion. They're all opportunists. Their whole families are always been about the money. They made tons of money. But who's paying for it? That guy with the black and white hat in front of me and me.
Yeah.
I'm paying for this. So nobody complains about that, but I'll say it. I don't like it. I think all of you guys have been ripping me off,
Yeah.
okay, honestly, and I've been the one paying for it. So let's just get real deal. If we're going to get gangster about the thing, I think all of you need to come take up and get real here because we're in trouble.
Yeah.
We're in a troubled situation. So what's going on now is there's a drastic change in the whole financial scheme, you know, and it's cray what's really going on. China's trying to buy up gold because they're in a hurt locker. They got probably they're way more advanced over there. There's buildings, everything is so much more advanced. But they are in really bad financial states. A lot of people don't realize, you know, they had a hustle going where people were buying into these high rises for investment purposes.
Yeah.
And it's they got empty high rises.
Yeah. They got ghost cities.
Ghost cities, you know. And so people don't realize, you know, it's so easy to get consumed with Fox News and Atlanta Live and not open your eyes to the world. This is a global movement.
You said it right there. I mean, like, that's why they call it programming. They want you glued to that TV so they can program you.
Yes. And we're in such a hurt locker as a people because, you know, if we were really in tune, we'd be turning it up, man. It'd be like, we want all of you. Get your head out here. Because, you know, we'd quarter them. It wouldn't be this way if we were really awake. People are so asleep. And so I say, you know, don't talk. I can't tell you how many people come up to me. You know, they'll be talking about politics. And I always say, listen, have you read any books? Did you hear that on Fox, CNN, or... I don't talk to people that listen to the radio and the news. I says, I read. Do you know who Ralph Epperson is? New World Order. Have you ever read that book? Do you know who Scott Peck is? Probably not. You know, do you know who David Icke is? Do you know who Gerald Massey is? Very interesting guy. He's probably had the education of a fifth grader. He wrote a book called The Beginnings. Try to read his book. How about also he wrote Ancient Egypt, Light of the World. I'm pissed because nobody wants to tell me the truth about the damn pyramids and all that. Okay, I don't care about these guys in the suits who are raping me, got me on this tax system where I'm like, I'm being pimped. You know, I want to know. You know, when was it Roosevelt or Eisenhower said, "Beware of the military-industrial complex"? You remember that quote? Do you know what he was talking about?
The industrial complex, the military-industrial complex. Well, I mean, I was thinking the CIA and everything.
That's a good point because I don't want to pull names now, but I can give you a book listing later. Dulles, all those cats back then, and now, mind you, Hitler had ties to a higher intelligence, not just him. Let's just make sure you guys understand. If you think I'm playing around, look up Project Serpo. Get the book and read it, okay? We sent people to another planet back many years ago. I think it was in the 30s or 40s, a whole group. The book will blow your mind. So most of us are not tuned into anything like that. But when he said that, he was talking about the Nazis had already infiltrated NASA. And I'll give you the books on it. I'm not a master at any of it. I read it. I have to put it down. It's a good thing it's audible. I pass out on most of what I read, but I go back. I'm just excited that I'm able to have insight of anything. Because here's the deal. After I talked to Bob Schrock, let me go back to that.
Yeah, please.
It was probably 20 years before I was able to talk to anybody about anything. Because when I would start talking to people about the New World Order or Trilateral Christian, you know, or Council on Foreign Relations, people would just, you know, He's weird.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And then I met a guy, and he'll be okay with me mentioning him, but on my very first show in the business, I met this guy. He was driving Cast, and he had duffel bags of books in the back of his car. And I was like, "What are you doing with all those?" And he's like, "Man, let me show you." And he pulled them out. He was one of the first people I was able to have a full-on conversation about all the stuff that I read prior to that. And that was Carlos Maddox.
Okay.
He's a driver. He's out west driving now rigs. He should be on Group 2 working with us here, but somehow his seniority got screwed up. He's one of my favorite people. I call him my teacher because he's done a lot of research, a lot of studies, and I won't go into all the stuff that we talked. We talked about some stuff yesterday. He called me, and I only talk to him probably every 3 or 4 months, and it's not every day. But he pulled my coat to the Dog Man, I think it's called. He said, do a research on Dog Man in Michigan. So there's this creature in Michigan, and the sightings are. I watched a video on it yesterday. This guy gave like probably 20 plus sightings from probably I think the 40s or 50s, maybe even before, up until the 20s, where this creature is not Bigfoot, but it walks on all fours and it walks upright, but it's anywhere from 7 to 10 feet tall and has a face like a dog, and the eyes are like glow in the dark almost, you know. And of course, mind you, the conversations I have with Carlos, I don't have with anybody else.
Yeah.
Because everybody else my old lady don't even want to listen to that shit. She's like, you just shut up.
I'm like, I just want to listen.
Yeah, right. So, but the conversations I have with him are spot on to everything I've ever read. Because if you read David Icke, he tells it. He's one of the people that they got him pegged as probably like, you know, he's crazy or whatever. But this guy he was talking about the Matrix before they made the Matrix.
I feel like when you talk to people, if they have to do any bit of research or look into anything, they immediately they get disinterested, and they just want to just like not do anything with it. They just want to say, you're crazy, and then move on.
Well, that's what leads me up to when we get into politics. Why I tell people all the time, most people are where they are because they're lazy. They're not willing to. When's the last time you seen a person read the Times or a Wall Street Journal? I personally, I get totally geeked when I see a Wall Street Journal at the checkout.
Yeah.
What's your next question?
Well, I mean, as far as question goes, you know, you help a lot of people out with addictions, right?
Yeah, I do.
You know, when did you start doing that for folks?
Well, let's be clear. Okay, now we're gonna tell on John. So, you know, so I left Buffalo, New York in '86. And I'm gonna give you some history now.
Yeah.
So 1977, January 17th, I think it was January or December, my mother passed away. I was the only child. My mom was probably 42, very young. Hypertension. She was a strict mom. Raised me Catholic, made me go to Catholic school, shine my shoes every day. She was single parent. I don't know who my real father was, my so-called father. He was a heroin addict. He was in Attica during Attica riots. So, but she raised me pretty strict. You know what I mean? Took me to school, say, hey, this is my boy. And I was raised by Jamaican nuns. They didn't play the radio with the windows up.
Yeah.
You get to talking in class. Everybody get down on your knees, hands up. Yeah. That's
Wow.
right. That look, yeah, right there. That.
Man.
And they meant it. And you did it. Whole class on the floor, hard floor, kneels down, hands up. Spanked you with paddles, 18-inch, 2-inch thick rulers. They didn't play. My mom didn't play the radio with the windows up. She was like, look, this is my boy. You got a problem. Discipline and send him to me. I didn't want to ever have to let him know. My mom know. She was not. But anyway, she raised me. She was very ill as a young age. I went through a lot of bouts with her, going back and forth to the hospital from 5th grade on up. And by the time I got in college my first year, she finally passed away. And I decided to start partying like a rock star. I had my first full-time job, although I hustled pop bottles, cut grass, and shovel snow from the age of 8. I got my first job at 16. I was making $40 a week. They tried to put me on social services. I refused. I lived in my uncle's attic apartment, 3rd floor attic apartment in Buffalo, New York. I made $40 a week. I paid him $80 a month rent. And, like to smoke a lot of weed, drink sangria, Lowenbrau, Heineken, John Labatt's Extra Stock, Brador. Turned into a nice scotch drinker. Got introduced to cocaine, Rick James parties, whole nine. And went down that road for years. Met a lot of people, a lot of gangster, mobsters, Colombians. I had people under my wing that I probably would have never met in a normal life. And in 86, I says, I had a full-time job making good money, but I was living fast. Back then we said live fast, die young, and make a beautiful corpse.
Yeah.
That's how we lived, on me and my friends. We were just, party like it was 1999, but it was only in the 80s. And I had a lot of fun. Used to, I was into fashion. I worked for that guy I worked for. He had 3 clothing lines, different stores, and I worked for him. I wound up doing modeling. I started my own little planned programs. I did some modeling events and had different seamsters and tailors. It was fun. I learned a lot. And then eventually I said, I got to get out of here. I just started hitting really bad. I was not doing well. And I left and came down here in 86, and I got here in January, and I said, man, it's 40 degrees and the sun is out. I'll never go back to Buffalo. And I could never get a job as a printer. I couldn't figure it out. Nobody would hire me as a printer.
Yeah.
And that's because I took a vacation and didn't come back.
Oh.
And I didn't realize that till some years later. Finally, I got a job working at Crown Cork and Seal, which made soda cans. And they were down off of Otley Drive. And they paid, that was the first good paying job I had, because before that I was working 2 or 3 jobs and I was nowhere near making the money I was making back home. Back then I was making about $28,000 a year in 86, which was good money.
Yeah.
And so I was a sorter there, and then they didn't believe I was a printer. Well, they had these little Mickey Mouse printers about the size of probably the size of a F-250. But the printing presses I worked on were mammoth. They, stage 18, you could put 2 of them in there to fill the whole room.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So they flew this guy in from South Africa to interview me. He interviewed me. He says, yeah, this guy knows his shit. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So they gave me a job working on their printers. I screwed that up. I got on a binge, came in late, Then I got into filming. I mean, not in film, I got in the freight business. And man, that was another party. Back then, we were hard workers, but we partied, man. And I never wanted to drive a truck. I mean, I was happy just working at dock, but they kept, they said, you want to learn? So back then you could learn how to switch and drop and hook doubles, and you didn't have to have a license.
Yeah.
And I got really good at that. I mean, I did it at night, They kept saying, you need to get your license. We'll put you on regular. I was so damn wound out. I didn't care if I got a license or got on regular or not. I was happy making the money I was making. But eventually I did. And then I took a driving job and of course, before then, I had beat several drug tests. I was, always wheeling and dealing and doing stuff. And then back in like 92, I took a drug test and it came up positive. And immediately my fear of my social acceptability and what people would think about me. But I had some really good people over at the local, because after I called my job, they told me, you need to call the local. I called the hall, I go over the hall the next day, and I'm telling the insurance guy what I was going to do. I said, look, they've already told me I only need to take 10 days off. I come back, take another drug test, as long as it's clean, I can go back to work. He said, really? I said, yeah. He said, hold on a minute. His name was Freddie Owens. He got up, he walked out the room, he came back. He had Bob Stanford and Wayman Stroud. Bob Stanford, big old guy, smoked camel. John, what's that you're going to do now? And I told him, I says, listen, I'm going to go down to Alabama, stay at my auntie's for a couple of weeks and come back and get a drug test and go back. He said, you ain't doing that shit. He said, you're going to go get some help. We're going to put you in treatment, get you paid, and that way if you get stupid again, we can bail you out. I said, really? He said, yeah, you do what I say. I said, okay. And that's when it started. I went to treatment in 92. I always thought I just had a drug problem. I showed up in that Charter Peachford in 1992, and the lady gave me Alcoholics Anonymous book when I got there, and I said, man, why you give me this book? I ain't no alcoholic. She said, sir, that's the only thing you had in your system when you got here. But only an alcoholic would drink 2 beers on the way. That's what I did, And so that's when it started. I went a couple of years back and forth, and in 94, I finally got sober, and I started attending meetings right away.
Yeah.
But in 94, I got, right away I got in touch with this place called Tower Club in Hapeville, which we're about to put this place really on the map for helping a lot of people. And not to break any anonymity, but when I first went there in 92, they were smoking in there. There was cats in their cowboy hats on, and they would say, hey, boy, you didn't get here sipping tea with the queen. They tell me, take the cotton out your mouth, out your ears, and put it in your mouth. You got a lot to learn here.
Yeah.
And that's when the journey started, man. I mean,
Was that the first time someone talked to you straight like that, though, too? I mean,
you're right, because, well, some of them did, but I went from 92 to 94. I would go to a lot of CA and NA meetings, but AA is the granddaddy of them all. It's always been the biggest 12-step program. And if you're going to get it, it's like getting a Cadillac opposed to getting a Fiat. You know what I mean? And them good old boys, I didn't like them when I first went there, so I stopped going. I would go to them rough, scruffy meetings where I knew the dope fiends were still coming in there, because I liked the girls coming in there. They looked like they were still, I was still kind of twisted. And but the last time I went out, I went over there and I was like, you know what, I really need to be around these old timers, And the guys would tell me, say, look, you either grow up or die. Say, we don't want to hear nothing you got to say. You just need to listen. And I knew I needed that. And there's a long period of reconstruction when you go out there. And that's why when I meet people in recovery, and I had a guy I met 4 days ago on work, and he just walked up to me and he was like, you giving me all these compliments. I didn't even know him. And then another kid come up and say, John, you still over at Tar or whatever? And I was like, yeah, man, how you doing? And another kid said, you know about Tar Club? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, you know about Tar Club? He says, I know people that go there. And I said, yeah, man. He said, what do you know about Tar Club? I said, well, I'm the president over there. You're the president? And he was all excited and everything. And I got to know him, and we talked and exchanged numbers. He said, I knew it was something about you, man. I knew it. And so that, the first 10 years there, I just stuck around and kept going to meetings and kept, because, for me, I'll talk about for me, when I started doing what I did at an early age, I got lost. You know what I mean? I lost myself. I know you probably didn't want to know all this, but I'm
No. This once again, this podcast is to showcase people I find special and intriguing.
Yeah.
Like you're helping somebody here.
Yeah. Well, believe me, bro, when I tell you, you know, there's more to getting sober than just saying I got a problem and showing up.
Yeah.
You know, but let me tell you, man, I was living a fast life, bro. You know, God was doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. It's a miracle I made it to recovery.
Yeah.
A miracle. I can tell you some really deep-rooted stuff. I was doing crazy stuff before I came here. And then even after I got here, I thought I was going to get away from it.
Mm-hmm.
But I brought me.
Mm-hmm.
And I ran into another group of people who were just as cowboy as the ones back home. They were just stupider because they all got in a lot of trouble. And but you know, you think, you know, for me, I mean, when I first got introduced to sobriety, I knew it worked. Right away, I had the second step experience, which is hope, because I went to a meeting at the treatment facility that night, and this guy was telling his story about what he went through. And I always judged everything based on having enough money, because I always had a fear of never having enough money. That went with the time my mom died. I always I ain't never got enough. But this guy was spending 10 times as much money as I was, and he was sober.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know, the first step principle is honesty. The second one is hope. The third is faith. The fourth is courage. You know, I can't. 1, he can. 3, I think I'll let him. Those are the first 3 steps. That's what the first 3 steps is.
Wow.
You know, and that means the first one says we admitted we're powerless. Life was unmanageable. Second says I recognized my life was insane. Third, I made a decision to turn my will and care over to the care of God as I understand him. Now, the fourth one is 4 through 10 is where you do some real work. You start finding out who you are, what makes you tick. Most people can't get to that because they get scared.
Yeah.
And they hear people say, oh, you don't do a fourth, you'll drink a fifth.
Wow.
But a lot of people don't understand if you go to AA meetings for a month, you're already taking the first 3 steps.
Yeah.
You've already made a decision.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker, Bob. If you got 3 birds on a wire and one decides to fly away, how many are left on the wire?
2.
No, they just made a decision. You can make a decision.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah,
if you
yeah.
ain't doing nothing.
I get it.
And that's where the real work comes in recovery.
Yeah.
And so I did that. You know, I went through the steps, and then I realized that somehow I realized it's really about the 12th step where, you know, having had a spiritual awakening result of step, we practice and carry the message to suffering alcoholic.
Yeah.
And that
It's you know, it's like when I think of, I mean, alcoholism is not like something that is prevalent to me, like I don't know it. So, you know, like people in my family, you know, obviously we have people who drink or people who have done drugs or whatever, you know, but I personally, like, I've never had to live with it.
good.
You know, the people I do know in life, you know, that I know that do it, and I try to intervene, whether it's like, hey man, if you ever need anything, just call me. Like, even if you need a ride or something, or hey dude, you know, if you ever need to talk about anything, you know, just let me know. You know, try to open up the door to you know, they're just going to be slamming something back, you know, after whatever. I sit there and I try to think, like, how do I help this person without, you know, maybe insulting them, you know, like what's the step to help somebody without saying, listen, guy, you're doing it all wrong. You know, like what do you, cause like, I mean, like, I think that bluntness is sometimes the easy, like Occam's razor. It's just being blunt with the guy. Like, hey dude, you have a problem. I think you need to fix it. Like, then you're probably not gonna be friends with that guy anymore. And you know, the dude's a good person. It's just, there's some things he's struggling with, you know, like what's a good way to like help somebody who's doesn't even realize they need help?
And I don't assume that's a question.
Yeah.
Well, I come from the white knuckle process. I'm the firm believer in, I do these newcomer meetings. I did one before I came here this morning.
Oh, wow.
And if a person says it's their first meeting, we usually go around the room and people give them suggestions, and because it's only a suggested program. I really don't want to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
But I'll tell people, I'll say, hey, I'll tell you what I think you should do.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should do whatever you want to do. Just do me a favor. Come back and tell me how it worked for you.
Yeah.
Because I'm convinced most people, if they don't follow, they're going to fall.
Mm-hmm.
So I had one guy come to me shortly after COVID. He was in his 30s. He shows up with his wife and sat through the meeting. After the meeting, I walked past him in the hallway and I said, hey, man, how you doing? He said, I'm good. He says, I don't really think I got a drinking problem. I said, okay, cool. He said, but, every time I get with the fellas and we start drinking, we're watching the game, I just want to keep drinking. I said, okay, well, that I understand. Mm-hmm. And he says, but my doctor told me I need to quit drinking because I might have cirrhosis of the liver. Mm. And see, I never really tell somebody they got a problem. Mm-hmm. That ain't my job. Alcoholism, drug addiction is one of the things that's self-diagnosed, in my opinion.
Okay.
You might have 15 DUIs, get butt naked every time you do a shot of tequila. That's your call. You ain't figured it out, guess what? But I told him, I says, hey, man, let me pull your coat to something. I said, you's a real fucking alcoholic, buddy. I says, let's make sure we're clear here. I said, because most people that get told about cirrhosis of the liver, they're in their 50s, minimum 60s usually. I said, so you need to quit drinking, bro. Mm-hmm. I said, but when was the last time you had a drink? He said, about 3 days ago. I said, well, the first step is honesty, but let me tell you, you smell like you've been drinking all morning. I mean, he was like fuming. I mean, like if you'd have lit a match, it might have blew up. Wow. That's how bad he had it. And so I'm saying all that to say is I don't normally even do that. Yeah. Normally I just, But when I do a meeting and there's people, when I get like Fridays, I've done a couple of meetings back to back, and there's people come in. I got 15 of them in there, and they're on the druggy bus. They come in. Mm-hmm. I go hard. Yeah. I'd go in. I mean, I tell them about me. I don't even say them. I say me.
Yeah.
It's the thinking. It ain't the drinking. Yeah. It's a matter of getting the drinking first out, but then it's really about the thinking that is a problem, because it takes about, in my opinion, I don't want to scare anybody, but it takes about 5 years just to clear up sometimes. Mm-hmm. If you drank like I did, I was a career drinker. I probably went 14 years, 15 years. It takes a good 5-10 years just for you to wake up fully. Yeah. Because what you think you know in the first 3 to 5 years, you look back 5 years after that and you're like, I was just whistling in the dark.
See, that's like one of your superpowers that you have, man. You have like you're an operator. Like, just like a trained Marine or a trained Army scout, you're an operator just like they are. But for this, for this division.
Wow. Never looked at it that way.
You're an operator.
Thank you.
So, I know people that have drinking issues, and I don't know how severe it really is, because everybody shows you, like, I look at every human being as a globe, right? And my face is the sun. So I only get to see whatever I get to see on the globe. So for my friends that are out there that are struggling with any kind of, debilitating habit, there's solutions out there, man. I'm there for you, I think what I want to say is that having an operator on the show to help you get through some things, there's hope for everybody. you know? So it's like, I think with that being said, it's always going to be up to the person to take the initiative. You have to recognize you're faltering or your check engine light's on, man. Don't put a piece of tape over the check engine light, man. Just pull that off and take it to somebody who can read the diagnostic. And don't be afraid, because it can get repaired. You know? So that's, I mean, like, I don't know. There's so many facets of you. You know, I feel like you showed me so much of your globe. It's still a small piece, but I see so much of your globe, and I just get more and more energized.
Thank you.
You know? And with the different tools that you have in your life toolbox, dude, helping something is in your second nature. It might be your first nature, because you know what it's like to need it and maybe not have it. So you give it to show other people. And man, I see that. And, you know, I think that's dope as hell. I think it's badass.
Thank you. I'll share this with you. It is it's a divine intervention, bro. I wasn't smart enough to do this, you know, just because I'm some Rhodes Scholar and shit. It's hard. The three people hardest to get sober is good looking, too much money, or too smart.
Mm.
Okay? You got to dummy down to get this.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the only thing that's self-diagnosed. Okay? It ain't my job to say you're alcoholic. But let me just tell you, let me give an example of what might help you determine. It's not what you drink. It's not who you drink with.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't even how much. I'm telling you, I've drank with some of the best. Hardcore drinkers ain't really alcoholics. They'll get up and keep functioning.
Yeah.
People like me, I get to drinking. I'm like, look, it ain't going to happen tonight. I'm going to be still here doing this till I, you know. It's what happens when you drink.
Mm-hmm.
And can you get real? Every time you drink, you break out, you in handcuffs, or you're in jail, or they had to tell you what you did last night with your clothes off, or you wake up and you don't know who this joker is next to you, you might have a problem.
Yeah. I had an acquaintance. Well, I used to be friends with this one guy, and I have a friend right now that drinks a good bit, and she knows she drinks a good bit. I don't know what her life situations is, if she's even interested in like intervening with that. But I told her a story one time about a friend of mine. You know, he agreed to go on a not a trip, but to go look at something. And so I had to pick him up early, like 8 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like knocking on his door. He's not answering. So I had to go around the side of his apartment where the sliding glass door was. And I seen the dude was passed out in the empty 50-gallon fish tank with his body contorted like all sorts of like scary movie style. And I like did the thing where, you know, you're not supposed to know how to do it, but you lift the sliding glass door up over the lock and you slide it to get to him, because I'm like, my buddy's dead, you know, like, but so I get to him and into his house, and I'm like, hey man, you alive? And he's like, yeah, I'm stuck. And I'm like, yes, you are.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm not sure if he like broke any ribs or anything, but it's like such a stout fish tank, and you know, he's like inside of it and he can't move, and I help him get out, and I'm just like, you need some help, dude.
That's amazing that even could happen.
Yeah, it's so you know, in all sorts of Conjuring movies, when you see all those people like bent out of shape, that's what it looked like. But he was inside of a fish tank, helpless, and couldn't get out because his arms are all stuck in positions that he just couldn't move. And I'm like, did someone do this to you? It's like, I don't think so. I've been here all night by myself. And that's when I realized, oh man, a lot of people that have this issue, they're by themselves anyway. Sometimes they're not even with other people. They're just by themselves.
Oh yeah, that's when it's really sad, is when you can, you know, isolate and drink heavily. And you know, it's a dark alley. It's, and it can just be so, it's convoluted to even have to deal with it. I see it in all kinds of realms, man. Let me tell you, one of the things about being around people and knowing they're in pain and knowing you can feel their, you can know because you've been there, you can tell, is you realize that's why the therapeutic value of help one person having a problem helping another is without parallel because there's no other way. That's why, like you said, how can I help them? You can't. It's really best when another alcoholic helps another alcoholic because, most people, they can't relate.
No.
And it just, I tell you, it's a spiritual program for sure. For me, I look at it every day as, there's no better feeling than being in the rooms of recovery because I already know when I get there, I'm going to leave with way more than I came with.
Yeah.
And now there's a bad side to it for John. John has just sacrificed so much, personal. I mean, and I got to, I'm in a position where I got to make decisions to try to, put a cap on this thing one way or the other because I'm just, I've got people in my corner, but I just really need so much more. And really we need funding where we're at. That's for sure because I do everything. There's no compensation for it.
Yeah.
And there's times literally, Dodd, I get up, I'll go to that clubhouse in the middle of the morning and 2, 3 in the morning, clean before I come to work at 5, 6 in the morning, or go check, make sure everything's safe, because we don't have that's not the kind of staff we have, and that's part of the falling dilemma with a lot of clubhouses because,
The aid to get things to power.
and
up
well,
the
we
lights.
really just need some not federal, but we need private funding to be able, and it's coming. It's just a matter of when. And
Do you have a Patreon for your club?
No,
Would that be something you'd be interested in?
probably, definitely anything like that would be definitely something I'd be interested in.
Comment down below if you're interested in helping out and finding a way we can get some funding for the club.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. We're gonna get there. It's in the master's time, not mine. That's for sure. And I always tell people, we made it this far with no money. You got to be careful. But we have a business plan to be bigger and better. And there's a plethora of other entities doing things. RCOs, what we call recovery outreaches that are really doing well. There's one down here in Noonan that we really like to model ourselves after. It's just a lot of effort that has to be given, but you need funding because now, our place has been around since 1975 almost. We own our building outright. And we've been running on fumes for a while. COVID put a hurt on us. A lot of people just ducked out and went to virtual meetings. So now the attendance is much less, but we managed to do well with the contributions we get from some of the meetings and the groups that pay rent there. So we stay afloat. I just lost my secretary this week. She decided she was going to quit, and which I don't blame her. Nobody wants to work for free. Only John does that. Well, not just John, my treasurer, and then I have a new vice president. She's hard at. The last one was very good too, but so much for that. What else you got there, Lieutenant?
You had brought up aliens and stuff before we had our break. And I think that we should touch back on that because I tell you, that's an exciting thing to me. And with a for a believer to talk aliens, it's fun, and who knows what God created, It's we didn't see it yet, we didn't see it yet, but that 3A Atlas that's been making the news. Do you have any
I don't
thoughts?
know anything about 3A Atlas.
The flying rock in our galaxy.
Oh
that's
yeah, the
passing
one
by?
that passed by. Yeah, yeah. And if you're really tuned in, that would have made a difference. A couple of me and another guy on the job was, it made a difference. We were in like the age of awareness, but very few people are so tied in they'll never get there. This program has been put down very well. I personally think there's an entity tweaking all of our leaders. There's things that our media and our government will not talk about. That's why they'll overindulge you with politics.
Thank you for that question. It's like, what?
Right. They'll overindulge you in anything but. The elite operate in realms that we don't want to even. Most people can't even quantify the fact that adrenochrome is a real deal, bro. Okay, okay. They don't want to hear about human sacrificing and child molestations.
Oh, we can't say that on the YouTubes.
We can't.
No.
Oh, you have to 86 that. But I'm just telling you, it is real human and body parts. That's huge. What's my man who does the podcast? He had a soldier on there. He's a soldier. And you probably know who I'm talking about. I always forget his name. But he had a soldier on there talking about where they were out in the field and this craft came down. He said, they said the craft was so quiet you didn't even hear it.
Was it the Sean Ryan show?
Sean Ryan. He had this craft came down and they were loading all these people on there. And the guys that they came across who were running the operation, he said, John, I always think they're talking to me. He says, these guys had, their gear was way more advanced than what we had. And we, they knew they couldn't come, but what they were doing, they were harvesting people.
Yeah.
And I think part of this big, border thing had a lot to do with that too. People don't, there's so much undercover, but, and that thing, he said he looked away, and next thing you know, that thing was gone.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the way the stories are in Yellowstone, the Grand Canyon. There's people that go out there, I'm just impressed with anybody that goes to Yellowstone and decides they're going to do a 5-8 day camping alone. Okay. You got to be, that to me, you ain't no badass till you can do that. Okay. And that's the kind of guy I will talk to. Okay. If you say you're going to Yellowstone, I'm going to Yellowstone. I'll be out there for about 8 days. Are you kidding me? Well, I watched a thing about 3 weeks ago. There's a guy went out there and, he run up on some stuff and he seen it. He went down this one path and he seen some stuff. And, next thing you know, feds showed up, made him do an NDA, told him he couldn't come back, took his license, told him he couldn't come back there no more. And this is not just one time. This happens all the time. Yeah. There's stuff going on out there in that damn Yellowstone. And I was talking to my buddy that Mesa out there in the desert. There is so much underground, bro. These people, the technology is way over our head. They do not want us to know. They don't want me talking about this on here because they're like, another one knows, maybe.
Well, I think it's awesome that we talk about this kind of stuff because, we talk about the Tic Tac video and like with the, underwater crafts that are going on. And just recently that.
You're really one of them.
Yeah.
You're deeper than I realized. Go ahead.
Just recently. So there was some information and video released from our government, from our military, showing a plane that flies into water and then flies out of water. Now, It could be fake. Don't know. It did not come out as a leak. It came out as like, this is what we're working on, you know. So if you're seeing this kind of stuff, this is what it probably is. The plane is definitely not under top secret restrictions or anything like that. We just don't talk about it. So if we have that technology and they're letting us know, like every time they let us know something, that technology has been out for 60 years and they're always working on something better. So, hey, look, don't pay attention to what this is going on here. Look at this cool technology that we've known about for 60 years, but you're just finding out about it now.
Convoluted Universe, Dolores Cannon's books. And she's got several instances of people that have taken trips with these entities and been on their ships and everything. You got to be, in my opinion, you got to be an idiot to think we're the only thing going on in town. Okay, mm-hmm. There's a universe. We're so prehistoric compared to what this universe has. No, you listen to David Icke, he'll tell you about the moon. It's, that moon thing. Do
you think we went to the moon?
I think we went, but we got our ass kicked out of there.
Mm.
That's what I think. Lately, I think that more than I think about that we didn't go. For a while, I was like, well, maybe we didn't go. Maybe they did that. Dude, if you read Project Serpo, it is so detailed. A lot of it is what they call redacted. But if you listen to it, it's just too much evidence of what happened then. And I don't know what year that was, but it was like, I think it was even before I was born. Mm. But then you listen to David Icke, he explains how we've been just put into an illusion. The Matrix tells it. We are so programmed right now. Mm-hmm. But they're going to even connect us now even more because, Oculus, virtual reality, really virtual reality is where they want all of us. Yeah. That's why Claus says you won't need anything. You'll be happier because you can just go into a whole nother world, put your little Oculus, you're done.
Yeah.
Everything you want to feel is right there. You can pretty much die. People laughed at me 5-6 years ago and I says, Meta, I think it was Meta, was one of the cryptos that was on the market. I can't believe if it was Meta, it was named something else because I was invested in it. But you could actually buy real estate on the virtual right now. There's people you could buy a yacht on virtual. Yes. People are paying hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars for virtual
yachts.
Yes. Yeah. Do your research on that and let me know what you think, but I'm just telling you. And when I told people, I says, this is why crypto is so big because this is what controls the blockchain and this is how they're doing it. And, of course, I was a space cadet. Nobody wanted to believe me. But, dude, just think about it. That's where they're headed now. Why do you think they can just close everything up? And because eventually they'll shut the lights off, and when they come on, you're going to have to do exactly what they say.
Mm-hmm. Get on your knees and pray for the lights to come back.
Yes. On. But, this is why I have such a problem when people want to talk to me about politics and government. And I'm like, first of all, you trust someone. Let me just put it to you like this. I got $40,000 I was inherited. I took it to the bank. I put it in there at 10 years old. I'm 40 now. Well, Mr. Russell, unfortunately, you owe us $50 million now. We had to use your money. Okay? That's what the government basically has done. Yeah. They have been in control of our destiny with our money that they took and demoted when they took us off the gold standard. Let's not go down that road. Mm-hmm. And now you trust them. That's like you going to the bank saying, I'll give you some more money now.
Yeah.
I don't trust any of it. Now, not only that, they've been lying about the UFO thing forever.
Yeah.
So those two things alone,
Yeah, like
I'm supposed to believe anything you tell me, but yet still, this is when you know.
John, I saw it on TikTok. I saw it on TikTok. Yeah, I find it really crazy that there was an article that I read, and it had something to do with the Teamsters. So I was like, "What's going?" It had something about the motion picture industry, how it's going through some changes, and this was like 2021. Okay, this is like, because of COVID and how things are happening, things are going through some changes, and the Teamsters and the Teamsters and there were, I don't know if it was the camera operators or the directors guild, that there are two people talking about it, and then somehow it segued into the future of what it's going to look like, and whether or not if people are still going to have pensions, or if it's going to be 401k, if it's going to be derived with like some form of like supplemental ways to have money for when you need to retire. And if the article was correct, and I tried finding the article because I wanted to like bring it up to a couple of the older Teamsters that's been around a lot longer than I have, to say, hey, do you think this is true? But apparently the 5 BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, all those companies, they're the main backers of certain, I don't know, institutions that like back the money for certain things. And
Right.
I saw that BlackRock, for our international, not our local, but for the international, they fund, like, I shouldn't say fund, they make sure that the money's going to be there. So when the Teamsters need it, it's going to be there, right? So it sounds a cushion, like, oh, BlackRock is going to be the security for that, retirement for when people need it. So it doesn't ever falter, right? It sounds like, oh, that's really great. But I found out in that article that BlackRock takes the money that we pay into our pensions and pay into our retirement, which is our flex fund. Like, they use that money. They borrow that money. And what they were doing here in Georgia, they were buying land and building apartments with the money that we're paying in. Now, if this article is telling the truth, and I'm trying to find the article, if they're telling the truth, that's kind of weird that, number one, the reason why we even have any kind of retirement is because it's basically protected by BlackRock, which sounds strange. And the money we're paying in, they're using that money to buy stuff. So we can eventually rent it from them later.
Yeah. Well, yeah. One of the things so easily done is to believe that you can, that everything is face value.
Mm-hmm.
It's no secret that pension funds are definitely manipulated constantly. That first of all, insurance is one of the biggest hustles ever brought on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
I get sick even watching a State Farm commercial when they have the nerve to pay these high dollar. This is another thing where ignorance is at an all-time high. And unfortunately, I have to use State Farm because they give me the best rate. But they got these cats on here, man. They're paying them who knows what.
Yeah.
But my insurance is still higher than, giraffe coochie. It's too high. It's just ridiculous what I'm paying. And, the way some of these people drive in Georgia, they need to have GSP out there just tapping into them, getting that money and slowing them down. But it's like a hustle, the whole hustle with the attorney thing. Everywhere you go, get an accident. It's like we're just, but to think that pension funds have always been manipulated. I tell people all the time, don't come over here trying to act like, we're all hoity-toity. We're run like Mary Kay. This ain't Mary Kay, bro. This is the Teamsters.
Yeah.
Okay? We tricked somebody to get where we are, And we're still gangsters. It's going to be that way to the end of time. Okay? And if BlackRock or damn Vanguard's got their hand in it, it would not surprise me one bit. I just hope it's there when I need mine.
Yeah.
You know, it's ironic that Biden had to bail us out on his term to get my pension back up the way it was, but it should have never been. I mean, where's the money? And you look at these payouts. So I was saying earlier, like Roadway, when I left Roadway, I seen Roadway's owner used to drive. He'd get in a truck with a guy and put a stool or a bucket in there and ride all the way from Cleveland to Georgia. He was the owner. Everything was paid cash for in '86 when I got there. By the time he died and his son and daughter had 52%, when they finally sold out, they were debt free.
Yeah.
When they sold out, these head pickers came in, paid all these people big severances. I watched them get it. We were way better than Yellow.
Yeah.
But here's big government. Here's credit. Credit. We went in. This is another reason why. They did an acquisition. Yellow bought us, and they were terrible. I worked at both of them. I could tell you we were better than them.
Didn't Yellow actually falter on their pension?
Yellow was probably under Central States too, but they screwed the whole. And ultimately, it was all designed to take us out.
Wow.
And that's why we're at where we're at now. You know, Amazon is doing it now. You know, Amazon and FedEx is the new. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Because they took the control away from us. You know what I mean? They took away what we established, what Hoffa established, what organized labor developed, and it's just
kind of gave us an illusion that we had something.
And you know, and that's why I tell people, I says, you know, it's more to it. You know, while you're complaining about who's running the local, what they're doing, you need to be looking at the big picture. UPS just laid off 10,000 people.
Yeah, they had that big raise and then laid off all those people.
Yeah, because that's what they do. You know, and who do you think is getting all that business now? Because we're not hauling the stuff Amazon makes. You know, FedEx, from what I understand, UPS gave up their freight business and it went to FedEx.
FedEx is highly against union.
Oh, of course they are.
Yeah, so that's like a win for them.
They're in my terminal down there on Moreland Avenue where I used to work. They're in that same terminal. I go by there and I lose it. So, back to the alien thing, man. You know, these guys. This whole thing is about putting us in a box. You know, and getting us more controlled. It's on autopilot. And when most people are completely tied to the handheld, and cat's out the bag, it's a wrap. There's no turning back, man. They're Palantir. Anybody, let me say, conscious people know what Palantir really is. Okay, mind you can make a ton of money with them. Because great investment, but bruh,
what they're doing,
bruh.
Well, I think, I mean, that's another thing too. A lot of people are forced to live a life of consumption. And, you know, when relationships already are almost like cash transactions, like for instance, like when you are so tied down to work because everybody has to work 12-hour days now because, you know, for some reason our money is not worth as much as what it used to be. They're working those 12-hour days and all of a sudden their personal time becomes very valuable. Like personal time's always valuable, but like they see it then. And then all of a sudden they have to take a investment into, okay, my friend wants me to come out Friday night or go see a show or this family wants to meet up. And then it becomes a investment, and then I want to say maybe not even an investment, but a deposit, and then a withdrawal of emotions, time, and feelings, and
Good
then
point.
all of a sudden it becomes so comfortable to just be at your house and watch a show and order your food online and get your groceries delivered by Amazon. And then if I don't have to go to the groceries, I can go see Bill at, Thursday night just to grab a drink. Pretty soon it's going to be, I'm going to see Bill and have a virtual drink. I mean, that's what it's going to be. I mean, that's what it's like already, because when I see people into their phones, they're not even like really doing anything other than flipping all these shorts. And, everyone tells me, Bob, you got the podcast? You got to make shorts. That's where you make all your money.
Is that what they say?
That's what they say. Make all your money in the shorts. And I don't make a lot of shorts, and I tried making some shorts, and I did. But, it's just, that lifespan of like dopamine hit,
Yes.
dopamine hit.
Good point.
And then all of a sudden you come home and your wife is like, I made spaghetti. I know you wanted tacos, but I made spaghetti. You're just like, bing, ding, ding, ding. Like, I don't know, something's goofy, but like, it's just a matter of like how people, express their life. Just, they show them that side of the globe that they want to show you, and then all of a sudden they're just, I don't know. It's weird to me.
Well, that might be the note we probably end on because why? This you'll have fewer people want to watch this completely because it won't interest them. Most attention span now they know is like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but it has been, a stone cold gas, as we say back in the 60s, 70s. It's stepping out on a limb to come on and do this because, it's exposing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I believe, and I know Big Brother. I'm no secret, no fool to what the hierarchy is in our world. And I understand it. And there's a lot of good in some of it, and some don't know what they're involved with anyway. But we just need to understand that. It's a gift anytime we can come together and do anything.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for having me.
Dude, thank you for coming on. It's been such a pleasure.
Yeah,
really.
Thank you, man. And next time.
Yeah.
Next time.
Yeah, we can and we can talk about anything.
We just did.
Yeah. Is there any like websites you would like to share with the people that are watching in order to maybe help benefit the Terror Club? Or
Well, we're at Terror Club, terrorclub.net, and that's where we're located on the internet. We're also at 575 North Central Avenue, Hateville, Georgia 30354. We've been there forever. We take donations through Zelle, Zelle, Cash App, Venmo, and you can always email us at towerclub@comcast.net. And more importantly, if you have anybody that's having a problem, I answer the phone 24 hours a day. The phone rings all the time. Don't hesitate to call 404-761-8915. Because it's really not about me. It's really about, can we help somebody?
Yeah.
And if I've offended anybody or made them feel uncomfortable by listening to this,
I don't think that's the case, man. You put yourself out there, like you said, on a limb.
Yeah.
It's more of a, it's so uncomfortable. At the same time, it's like, like being a podcast host, I get uncomfortable every time, but you get, to this point where it's like, I got to do it. So you go do it. And, you're doing it, man. You're helping people. And if this helps one person, man, that's a lot better than helping nobody.
Yeah, it really is. Was this live by any chance? It's not live. Good, because I told everybody, I doubt if it's live, but people were like, let me know. I want to,
Yeah.
And I'm so busy, tell you the truth, I'll forget. You got to send me a link and say, hey, here it is. and then because man, I got a ton. I got 12. I think I got 11,000 contacts in my phone. So it's very well possible that I'll put a lot of people on it. I haven't had a chance to really watch any of your stuff because I've got stuff saved that I want to watch.
You are so busy. Like seriously, you're so busy. I mean, when we're working on Superman, gosh, all the stuff you were doing for the production. When Teamsters have a down moment, we take that moment sometimes to like take a breath and think about things for, just whatever. John's always on it. Always doing something, talking to somebody, helping somebody, figuring something out that, I mean, whether if they're on the crew trying to figure something out or where something goes, like even if it's, we were with the grips on that time, but like you've helped all the departments. Like
I don't even remember all that, but I'll receive it. And thanks again for all the kudos, man.
Well, dude, I appreciate you big time.
No, I appreciate you, man. I mean, this is like, it'll be residual for me to engross all this. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, thanks to Kent Baker. I know that.
Serious shout out to that guy.
Dude, Kent Baker, the movie maker.
The movie maker, bro.
Oh, dude. Well, thanks to him and thanks to you and thanks to everybody out there subscribed, listening, commenting.
Right.
If you heard something throughout the podcast, comment on it.
Please do.
Align us, fix us, enlighten us. Just, all those touches that you guys might have that help something. We love that. I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing. We'll see you on the next one, guys. Take care.
Get ready for the ride.